You are the only person on Earth who knows what this manuscript truly looks like. Not the scanned copies online, not the heavily edited museum photos, not the AI-enhanced recreations people argue about on forums at 3 a.m. The real manuscript sits 10 feet away from you right now, locked behind climate glass, silent, waiting. And after 32 years of staring at its pages, you still have no idea what it says. Every symbol feels deliberate. Every line looks meaningful. Every paragraph appears to whisper some ancient logic your brain almost understands, but never fully. For centuries, the greatest linguists, cryptographers, mathematicians, and historians on Earth have tried to break this text, and every single one failed. Some died obsessed, some lost their marriages, some vanished into academic isolation so complete their names survive only in footnotes attached to dead theories. Now the manuscript belongs to you. And some nights, you wonder if it was ever meant to be read at all, or if this entire thing is a centuries-old trap designed to waste human life. Level 1. The silent vow of the archive. Every morning begins the same way. 3 security doors, 2 biometric scans, 1 final metal key that never leaves your possession. The vault is always cold. Not freezing, just cold enough to remind you that preservation matters more than comfort. The manuscript waits under low amber lighting. 600 pages of vellum, handwritten sometime in the early 15th century. No confirmed author, no confirmed origin, no confirmed language. Just symbols. Thousands and thousands of symbols. Some resemble distorted Hebrew, others look vaguely Arabic, some feel mathematical, but none belong to any known linguistic structure on Earth. You were not chosen because you were the smartest. That misconception disappears quickly. You were chosen because you were willing to stay. Most researchers don't last. At first, the work feels exciting, romantic even. Late nights, ancient secrets, humanity's last unsolved code. Then, the silence begins affecting you. Because this is not discovery. This is endurance. You inherit decades of notes from previous custodians, entire lives compressed into filing cabinets, pages filled with desperate theories, repeating character frequencies, astronomical alignments, hidden ciphers, religious codes, psychological breakdowns disguised as research papers. One predecessor spent 11 years convinced the manuscript only revealed meaning during sleep deprivation. Another believed the text was designed for a language humanity hasn't invented yet. One man stopped speaking entirely during the final months of his life. According to archive records, his last written sentence was, "The symbols are learning me faster than I am learning them." You are instructed not to become emotionally attached to these stories, but nobody follows that rule, because eventually you realize you're reading your future. Level 2. The language of ghosts. The symbols become hypnotic after enough exposure, not metaphorically, literally. You begin recognizing patterns your conscious mind cannot explain. Certain glyphs appear together repeatedly, like grammar, like intention, like a real human being once sat down and tried to communicate something desperately important. And that's the worst part. The manuscript feels intelligent, not magical, not cursed, just deliberate, which creates a terrifying possibility. What if meaning truly exists here, and humanity simply lacks the key to perceive it? You spend years chasing tiny breakthroughs, A repeated symbol cluster appears near illustrations of plants, maybe nouns. A sequence repeats every 7 pages, maybe dates. A specific character never appears at the beginning of paragraphs, maybe punctuation.
Every theory collapses eventually, always. You learn the history of previous failures the way soldiers learn battlefield casualties. William Newbold believed microscopic cracks in the ink contained hidden shorthand messages. Wrong. Joseph Feely thought it was an advanced substitution cipher. Wrong. Military cryptographers during World War II analyzed it for years. Wrong. Even modern neural networks fail, not because the text lacks structure, but because it contains too much. AI can identify patterns. It can predict repetition. But meaning? Meaning requires context, and the manuscript refuses to provide any. No bilingual translation, no historical references, no cultural anchors. Nothing. Just pages speaking in a language disconnected from human memory itself. Which leads to the question nobody likes asking out loud. What if it's all fake? A medieval hoax, an elaborate performance by some unknown genius who discovered the perfect way to torture future civilizations, not with violence, but with curiosity. Because humans would rather encounter a terrifying truth than an unsolvable joke. And sometimes, at 2:14 in the morning, you honestly pray the manuscript is meaningless. Because if it isn't, then something intelligent spoke to humanity once, and humanity forgot how to listen. Level 3. The isolation of a singular truth. People stop asking about your work eventually, not because they lose interest, because your answers become impossible to understand. How was work today? Quiet. What exactly are you translating? I don't know. Do you think you'll solve it? Maybe. Nobody knows how to hold a conversation around uncertainty that lasts decades. Friends drift away first, then relationships, then ordinary reality itself. Because your life becomes psychologically split into 2 worlds. The outside world moves fast. Trends, politics, AI breakthroughs, viral outrage cycles. Meanwhile, you spend 12 straight hours staring at the same 6 symbols written 600 years ago. Time feels wrong inside the archive, like history stopped breathing there. Sometimes you imagine leaking sections online anonymously, just fragments. Let the internet attack it. Let millions of minds attempt what isolated scholars couldn't. You imagine decentralized AI communities building open-source decryption models overnight. Quantum-assisted semantic mapping, collective intelligence. Maybe the solution already exists outside these walls. But you never do it, because secrecy is the final layer protecting the manuscript from becoming content. The world consumes mysteries too quickly now. Everything becomes entertainment eventually. And deep down, you fear the truth being solved by people who don't love it enough. So instead, you remain alone with the author, a person dead for centuries whose thoughts remain trapped behind ink like an insect frozen in amber. You begin feeling strangely intimate with them. You recognize hesitation marks in their handwriting, moments where the quill paused, corrections scratched away, tiny imperfections proving this wasn't generated, it was written by human hands for human eyes. And somehow, humanity still cannot enter it. Level 4. The Digital Siege and the Human Guard. By 2026, people believe machines can solve anything. Quantum systems simulate ancient linguistic evolution. Neural networks reconstruct extinct dialects from fragments smaller than shopping lists. AI models generate entire forgotten alphabets convincingly enough to fool experts. And still, the manuscript remains silent. You watch billion-dollar systems fail against ink made by candlelight. That terrifies you more than if they succeeded, because it suggests the barrier isn't computational, It's conceptual, like trying to explain color to something born blind. Collectors become increasingly aggressive over the years. Private billionaires, secretive organizations, people convinced the manuscript contains hidden scientific knowledge or prophecies or coordinates. One man offered enough money to fund your archive for 50 years in exchange for a single original page. You refused immediately, but later that night, you stared at the manuscript wondering whether preservation itself had become another form of imprisonment. Because what are you truly protecting? Knowledge or uncertainty? You fear two outcomes equally, that someone unworthy will crack it first, or worse, that nobody ever will. Sometimes you imagine the final translation appearing instantly on a screen after decades of suffering, a complete revelation. And what if the message is ordinary? A shopping inventory, farming instructions, love poems. What happens to a human life built entirely around mystery once mystery disappears? Final level, the weight of the final handover. You know you're getting older now, not because of the mirror, because younger researchers look at you the same way you once looked at your predecessor, with curiosity, respect, and pity. You begin training someone new, slowly, carefully, teaching them how to handle the vellum safely, how to recognize moisture damage before it spreads, how obsession disguises itself as dedication. You never tell them your darkest thoughts, that some nights you believe the manuscript changes subtly between readings, that occasionally certain symbols feel familiar for reasons you cannot explain, that you once dreamed entire pages before turning them. Those secrets remain yours. Every custodian leaves behind private madness the archive never records. One evening, the new researcher asks you a question. Do you think it will ever be solved? You almost answer immediately, but you stop, because after an entire lifetime, you finally understand something. The manuscript was never truly about translation. It was about preservation, about proving humanity could still respect mystery without destroying it. In a world obsessed with instant answers, this document remained unconquered. And maybe that matters more than solving it ever could. One day you hand over the final key. The vault door closes behind you for the last time. And somewhere inside that silent room, the symbols continue waiting, patiently, as they always have, for the next human being willing to sacrifice their life chasing meaning through silence. And maybe centuries from now, long after your name is forgotten, someone will finally understand the first sentence. Or maybe they won't. Maybe the greatest secret in human history is simply this: not every door was made to open.